Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League Racing TV YouTube channel for round one of season 3 of TTML Division 3. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Commensus. I'll be taking you through proceedings on a Thursday evening, as always. And joining me in the commentary box for the third season in a row is TTG Conti. Conti, how are you this evening?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again this season. And yeah, I'm doing really good. I'm looking forward to the new season. We haven't had a break, but yeah, last season was close, and we have some familiar faces and a couple of new guys. I personally don't know and have never seen driven, so yeah, really looking forward.
Yeah, me too. Like you say, we haven't had a break in between the two seasons, so we're straight into it with season 3, and we have got, like you say, a bunch of new faces to marvel over, and some regular people that we've seen last season and seasons before as well, that we can have a look at and see how their championship journey is going to go this season. We're just going to run you through them before we get ready for the first qualifying of the season at Australia. We're going to get you up to date with what the new TTML Division 3 lineup is, and I think the TTML Division 3 season have got a lot to live up to, because Division 3 last season was so stellar. So the full lineups, the full-time driver lineup then for each team. In the Mercedes team, Jan remains in Division 3 after fighting for the championship last season. He is still in that Mercedes car. David is now his teammate instead of Steve. Steve has changed teams, so David is Jan's new teammate. Hero Jokin moves to Ferrari alongside Hatari. Lighty moves to Red Bull, and he's alongside Sean, so Sean stays on for another season at Red Bull. McLaren is VER, Kelvin, and Gregster. The Racing Point team is Flores and Nelly 295, who is new to this division. Obviously, Gregster as well was new to this division, so is Hatari as well in the Ferrari further up the field. Simply Superman reigns in the Alfa Romeo, and he's alongside Autogear's Nolan. The Renault is TTG Kiki alongside Steve, so Steve has moved to the Renault team from the Mercedes team. NBD Vision is in the Haas alongside Kieran Trapp. Langfell gets a full-time seat in the AlphaTauri alongside F1 AMG, who was moved back down to Division 3, having moved up to Division 2 for the previous season. And Steph is back, but he's in the Williams this time round alongside Old School. They are the final full-time driver pair. And the reserves we've got so far are TMC Jono, OWR Martin Bell, TTG Damon, TTGA Charlie, and Break FNs. We've got 5 reserves if we need to use them. And looking at the driver lineup we've got so far this season, I want to know what your opinion is on these driver lineups. Who stands out to you? I've got one lineup that really stands out to me as a possible favourite, but who are you looking towards?
Yeah, we haven't talked about it, so it's kind of a guess, but I think we have the same one. The Williams lineup is looking really, really strong.
Yeah, it really, really is. Yeah, I fully agree with you on that one. I think we had a poll put out on the League Racing TV or the TTML Twitter the other day, just to see who's favourite for Drivers' Championship this season, and Old School was officially voted the favourite, and Steph, I believe, was voted second favourite, and they are the two drivers in the same team. So that is a really, really strong driver lineup. I think the only other driver lineup in that field that we know has a really solid pace that may not be a surprise to us is maybe that Alfa Romeo lineup of Simply Superman and Nolan. They both have had stellar performances throughout last season. It maybe just didn't come together for a full season for them. So they're probably another favourite to look out for. But like I said a little bit earlier on, there's a lot of new faces that we have to get used to.
Yeah, there is. A couple of guys I don't know. I believe Gregster was with us last season as well as a reserve, but he changed his name. The Gord, I believe it was. So he was here but changed his name. Yeah, and we've got guys like Nelly. Yeah, don't know what to expect. I really don't know what he can do. But yeah, sometimes these new faces can give us some good surprises. And as you said, they really have to live up to something, because last season was a spectacle and the championship was decided on the last race.
Yeah, like you say, new faces that come into the championship obviously can bring a surprise. Obviously, one of the two biggest driver surprises last season in Division 3 was B. Morgan and Steph. They were both new to the division coming into last season, and they both really shone. Unfortunately, neither of them won the championship in the end, but they were both very close to doing so. So who knows who could come out on top in this one. I think we are missing a couple of drivers today. We have got a full lineup, but we have got a couple of reserves in today, I believe. I believe Martin Bell is racing today. Another thing to note, we spoke about this briefly before we got underway today, but F1 AMG has been moved back down to Division 3. Obviously, the first Division 3 season we had in TTML AMG pretty much ran away with the championship. He had such a great start to the season, and despite Mishiro's best efforts, he couldn't close in towards the end. So it made sense for him to move up to Division 2, but moving up to Division 2 seems to be quite a bit of a struggle for F1 AMG.
Yeah, I believe so. I haven't seen all his races because of, yeah, of course, Division 3 is just much more fun to watch. But no, yeah, he struggled a bit. He didn't really perform. I mean, in Division 1 or in Season 1, he was just the fastest out of everyone and most consistent. I can remember a rain race around Vietnam, I believe. He didn't win the race, but just a stellar of a race, and this guy is really, really quick. So, yeah, I'm surprised to see him back, but yeah, who knows? Maybe he isn't putting in as much time as he did in Season 1 and lost a bit of pace.
Maybe that might be the case, or maybe just moving up to Division 2 maybe a completely different order, and he just didn't perform alongside them. We had a lot of new additions to Division 2 last season along with Division 3, so maybe he got put up at the time when a lot of people were coming in, and he just wasn't quite as representative with his pace from then on. So, I mean, who knows how it could have been really for them for F1 AMG in the championship. Mashiro obviously moved up last season as well, and he has stayed in Division 2. He's not moved back down. People that were in Division 2 last season that have moved back up, moved up from Division 3 into Division 2 include obviously last season's champion Isotopic and B Morgan. They have both moved up, and I'm not gonna lie. I'm gonna be pretty honest. I'm pretty surprised that Steph maybe wasn't moved up.
Yeah, because he really, yeah, especially in the end, the guy was so quick on quali and race pace as well. So yeah, to be honest, I'm surprised. I'm as surprised as you, and maybe Jen could have moved up as well. But yeah, if we move up everyone, there's nobody left.
Exactly. Yeah, we could make a case for a lot of people to move up into Division 2 based on some races. I think Jan maybe didn't quite have the pace of his championship rivals last season. He was incredibly consistent, but on raw speed alone, you've got to say that B Morgan, Isotopic and Steph as well really had the raw pace on Jan all the way through last season, apart from maybe an odd couple of rounds or so. Just riding with Nolan, he's going to be the first person to set a lap time in qualifying this season. He's in the Alfa Romeo full-time. He's not a reserve anymore, he's a full-time driver. He picked up obviously a podium last season at Silverstone, so let's see if he can try and repeat that performance here in Australia today around the Melbourne street circuit. Then he heads towards turn 1. Very short braking zone for turn 1, nice fast corner in through the flat out turn 2, down the second of 3 DRS straights at this track, down towards turn 3, probably one of the heaviest braking zones on the track and the best overtaking opportunity you will get around this circuit. It then heads into turn 4 and then turn 5 directly after that. There's a lot of corners in quick succession around this circuit, very small straights in between them. It is a very high downforce track as it heads into turn 6 and then the kink of 7 and then into the right hander of turn 8. Easily flat out it has caught a few people out in the wet before in real life, but in the dry it's a very easy corner. Turn 9 and 10 now, the Clark chicane. Make sure I don't run too wide, and Nolan had to back off the throttle a little bit there coming out the corner to make sure he didn't spin the car. Now coming through this curved straight towards the fast 11 and 12 chicane, probably the most difficult corner on the track, these two to get absolutely right, and Nolan very cautious through there, not pushing too hard, just trying to set a banker. It seems as he heads down towards turn 13 at the end of the third DRS straight. Another good overtaking opportunity if you can get the run out of turn 12 into the final sector. It slows up as you get further around this final part of the lap. He heads then into the penultimate corner of turn 15, that's Prost corner, and then into turn 16, the last corner on the track. Just have to slightly lift off before turning in, and now the short run to the line for Nolan. The first lap time is going to be a 1 minute and 19.7 from Nolan. Goes on to provisional pole position. Directly behind him on the road is one of the Ferraris just starting a lap, I believe. That was Hatari coming to start his first lap in qualifying. Kiki follows in behind as well. So far Nolan the only one that has set a time. MBD Vision was on a lap but has invalidated at some point later on in the lap, so he's going for another run it seems in that Haas car. We've got a lot of cars in a little bit of a queue behind him on the track. I believe Nelly is one of those in the racing point. Actually no, he's a bit further around the lap. It's actually Flores that's coming around to start his first run in qualifying. Steve crosses the line, but it's a 42.6, so he's obviously made some sort of mistake. Jan goes P2 on a 19.7, half a tenth behind Nolan. So once again, it seems we've only got 3 drivers across the line, but already Division 3 qualifying is traditionally as close as it has been pretty much all the way through last season. So across the line comes simply Superman, and he goes P3 on a 19.9, so 2.5 tenths behind his teammate. Or across the line becomes one of the McLarens. That I believe was Gregster come to start a run. It was as Nelly crosses the line on a 19.9. He goes just ahead of simply be Superman. So at the moment, only 5 drivers with a time on the board, and Nolan at the top, but Jan, a good opening lap for him as well.
Yeah, it is, and that's the thing. He was lacking a bit last season. His qualifying wasn't really good, but yeah, this track you really have to be careful because invalidation. You've got an invalidation without you even knowing it. It can be that fast, so you have to look out for that. And in the race as well, have to look out for penalties. It could be a decider in the end of the race.
It definitely could. Like you say, it is something to look out for at this track. It's just on board with Kiki. Kiki invalidated his one, was going for another one, and then immediately invalidated on the exit of turn 1. So he's already not going to be able to set a time on these soft compound tyres. MVD Vision crosses the line on a 20.5 on his second lap on the soft tyres. And the delta between the first and second lap on a set of softs around this track is quite big because of how high the degradation can be around this circuit. Old School goes in front of him on a 20.5, which is a little bit off the pace in terms of Old School standards. He looks like he might be going for another run on the same set of tyres as in front of him on the road. I believe that was Steph that just went in front of him in the Williams, but he only manages a 20.2, so he can't get into the 19s, and he's half a second off pole position. Hatari on debut has gone P5 on a 20.1 in the Ferrari. No one else as of yet has set a lap time. Everyone's either invalidated or is in the pit lane. We've got 2 drivers on the track on a set of mediums. Langfell on a set of mediums, and as per usual, Sean in the Red Bull is on a set of medium tyres, so he'll be going for maybe 3 or 4 runs on that set of medium tyres, as he does very traditionally. His teammate Martin Bell will be the next person to finish a lap in the Red Bull, I believe, as across the line Langfell comes, but he has invalidated his time, so that won't count. So around the final corner comes Martin Bell, race winner last season at France, a great race for him. Kind of inherited the win after a connection issue for B Morgan, but still a great performance nonetheless. He crosses the line, and it's only P8 for Martin Bell. He goes on a 20.3, and I tell you what, this is not the order I was expecting at the moment, with both Williams, while obviously 10 people have set a lap time, both Williams at the bottom end of those people that have set times.
Yeah, but I had a little peek in the, and I mean it's not racing, it's time trial, but in the time trial standings I know Old School can do a lot better than this. But I think they just want to have a safe banker to have a delta for your second run.
Yeah, here comes Sean round the final corner then in the Red Bull. Unfortunately, I believe Langfell has spun coming out of turn 5, sorry, and has put the car in the wall, so he's not going to be able to set a lap time in the AlphaTauri. Sean crosses the line. It's a 22 flat on the mediums. That is nowhere near fast enough to try and get him inside the top 10 to start on a set of medium tyres behind him on the road. Kelvin has just started his first run and has immediately invalidated at turn 2, so a lot of people already being caught out by the track limits at this circuit. I would usually say that maybe it's because we've had an off-season, but we haven't had an off-season, so it just seems a lot of drivers are struggling with track limits at the moment.
Yeah, it's just the nature of this track. I mean, it's a street circuit, so it's a bit slippy, and yeah, it's really, especially the fast corners, turn 1 and the fast chicane, what is it, turn 11 and 12, I believe. It's really easy to invalidate there. If you turn in a bit too early or a bit too late, it's the end of your lap.
It can be, yeah, and especially on the exit of turn 12, if you're not on the right line, it is actually very easy to lose the rear of the car and spin. Yeah. So a lot of people do take that very cautiously. Nolan took his lap very cautiously and is still currently on net pole position. So at the moment, Nolan's first lap was actually quite a smart move from him to go quite cautiously. So now he can push from here. He's on another lap in the Alfa Romeo. He's the next person to start a lap in this qualifying session. Flores and F1 AMG have crossed the line to start their first valid runs in qualifying. So we'll see what they can do. Flores is in a little bit of a queue of cars. F1 AMG is just ahead of a couple of back markers. So another thing to look out for at this track is that possibility of being held up ever so slightly in this qualifying session. It is quite a short track in terms of distance, so it's very easy to get held up behind another car. Nolan didn't improve in the first sector. Coming towards the end of the second sector now, has he found any sort of time? He was a 10th down in the first sector. He's now half a 10th up in the middle sector, so he's found quite a bit of time in the middle part of the lap. Let's see how his final sector is. He looked a lot more committed there through the chicane than he did on his first one as he heads down towards turn 13, then hits the brakes nicely, runs it out onto the curb but doesn't use the Astro. So very nice and neat once again from Nolan. Looking like a neat lap so far. He's still not really pushing the boundaries of the track just yet. He's not taking a lot of risks as he comes through 15 and then through the final corner of 16, not using all of the road on the entry to the corner and not using all the road on the exit either, but he comes up to the line. Does Nolan improve on his time? He does. Found quite a bit of time in the final sector, 0.3 of a second, so he's now on a 19.4, which puts him 0.3 of a second clear of the rest of the field. So good time from him as F1 AMG Yeah, and the Alpha Tauri goes into P2 on a 19.5. So good qualifying. First lap in qualifying for him as well as he jumps up to the front of the field. Everyone else is just starting really their second runs. Nelly's on a lap, but he's slightly down in the racing point as it stands. We've got one of the Renaults coming up to the line. That's Steve getting ready to start his next one. And then one of the Williams, that is Old School, coming to start his next run. So Nelly will be the next person to finish a lap. And he's too wide there coming out of 14. Dips a wheel on the gravel and invalidates his time, unfortunately. So Nelly is not going to be improving on fourth place, and he dives straight into the pit lane as you would expect. So at the moment, Nolan on pole position, but F1 AMG puts himself back at the front of the field.
Yeah, F1 AMG is back. We talked about it before quali started. He is a fast guy. He dominated season 1. And yeah, looks like he's planning on doing it again. But yeah, so far Nolan just a bit quicker than him right now at the moment.
At the moment, yeah, Nolan seems to have the edge. Jan coming up to the line in the Mercedes, improves by half a tenth, but that doesn't gain him anything on the track. He stays in third place. As behind him on the road, Kiki goes into P6 in the Renault on a 20 flat. Across the line, I believe, comes Martin Bell to start his next one. And next is one of the Williams cars. That's Old School. Oh no, that's Steph, sorry, starting a lap in the Williams. So next across the line, I believe, is going to be one of the Hasses, and Steph invalidates there through turn 2. So another person caught out by track limits, unfortunately. Martin Bell wasn't invalidated, didn't invalidate his time, so he's able to continue on. Vision crosses the line, but he was invalidated, so he's not improved on P12. And still a lot of drivers out there are struggling to set a valid lap time. We have 5 drivers that haven't set a time in this session. Gregster is currently on a lap. It's a 48.7 through the middle part of the lap, and then he invalidates through turn 12. So another person that falls foul of invalidations there, as across the line becomes one of the other Haas cars. That's Kieran Chapp coming to start his next one in qualifying. But still a lot of drivers struggling to set a valid lap time.
Yeah, it's really easy to invalidate. So yeah, I get why they're struggling, but they really have to get a move on, because there's only 6 minutes left, and this is the time. As a driver, you're starting to wonder: should I put in a little bit more fuel? So if I invalidate my first one, I can do a second one, but you will lose a bit of time in doing that. Or do I just go all out and give it my best? And invalidation, it's end of quali, but that's the risk I want to take.
Yeah, is that the risk you're going to have to take, as Martin Bell crosses the line, improves by a tenth, goes P8, 0.02 of a second ahead of Steve in the Renault. So good time there for Martin Bell to get himself into the top 10. Behind him on the road, Steph just across the line did a 19.9 on that lap, which would have put him, I believe, either 4th or 5th on the field, but that was invalidated, unfortunately. So that doesn't mean anything as it stands. We've got more people finishing their laps. Kelvin's currently coming around the penultimate corner, and he dives into the pit lane before he can finish the lap. So he's decided that he can go better maybe later on in the session. Kieran Trapp will be the next person to try and finish a lap time, along with quite a few drivers actually crossing the line. Old School on his second lap on that set of soft tyres goes 8th, as Steve on his second lap in those soft tyres goes 6th in the Renault, and Kieran Trapp goes into P12 in the Haas on a 20.5. So a lot of people, like we said, have to go for that second lap in qualifying, and a lot of drivers seem to be fueled to do that. The only person at the moment that seems to have made a really significant improvement on their next lap so far is simply Superman, who's nearly 2/10 up in the middle sector.
Yeah, he's doing really good. I was on board with him when he started the lap. He's had two times he got slipstream from someone else, and he's looking really committed to every corner. So I think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, so if he can get maybe onto the front row at the moment, this 2/10 improvement could put him just behind Jan or just ahead of him, depending how the final sector goes. It looked nice and neat, though, as he comes out of the last corner. It's a valid lap time for Simply Superman. Currently P5 on the grid, crosses the line, goes P3 just behind F1 AMG by 0.12 of a second. As per usual, Division 3 qualifying incredibly close, but he goes ahead of Jan, and that is brilliant for Alfa Romeo. I mean, we were hyping up Williams, and obviously qualifying's not over yet. We were hyping up Williams, but Alfa Romeo at the moment are the ones stealing the spotlight.
Yeah, first and third so far. I mean, it's not over yet, and we've seen in the past editions of Division 3 that everything can happen. But yeah, so far they're looking really strong. And I must say, Simply Superman, we know he could have pace, but this is really good in qualifying from him. I don't remember seeing this earlier from him, being so far up front.
Yeah, he was an early championship contender last season before he kind of fell off towards the midpoint of the season, unfortunately. He had the same start to the season as Isotopic. Isotopic recovered really well and ended up champion, and Simply Superman kind of just lost touch, unfortunately. Finished, I believe, 5th in the standings last time around. As Hero Jokin comes up to line, winner of the first race of the season last season, goes P5 in the Ferrari in his first valid lap in qualifying. So that's a good lap from Hero Jokin to go inside the top 5, trying to emulate the win that he got in the first race of the season at Bahrain in Season 2. Let's see if he can be a full season championship contender. Meanwhile, Nolan has dived into the pit lane. He was on a lap, but invalidated somewhere around it, so he's coming in for another set of tyres, and him and his Alfa Romeo teammate Simply Superman coming into the pits at the same time. So one of them might get held up to the point where they might not be able to get back out for another lap in qualifying. Jan, meanwhile, has gone to start another lap in qualifying, currently P4, and I gotta say, for Jan so far, this is the highest we've probably seen him in qualifying for quite a while.
Yeah, last season he was struggling in qualifying. But yeah, he's starting good. I think he's re-energized for the new season and committed on doing a good quali.
Definitely, yeah. So if he can get to the front of the field, then he actually sets a purple first sector, does Jan. So great first sector, a 0.2 at the end of that. That is a brilliant first sector for him. Both McLarens, meanwhile, have just started their next runs in qualifying, currently 18th and 20th on the grid. So they're obviously trying to get a bit further up than that. They still are yet to set a valid time in the session. David has rejoined the lobby, but unfortunately he's got quite a lot of connection issues, so he might cause a little bit of a lobby glitch if he's not careful. Jan, a 10th and a bit up now in the middle sector, so he's finding a lot of time. This could put him back onto the front row maybe if he gets this final sector nailed on. He's currently almost exactly 3/10 of a second behind Nolan. This lap could put him on the front row if he nails this final sector. It's looked nice and neat so far. He's got no traffic in front of him through the penultimate corner, doesn't lock up, gets the car, stops nicely now through 16, takes a bit of a tighter line, runs it out onto the curb on the exit, but was again very neat. Jan coming up to the line, currently P4. Where can he go? Goes P2 with a great improvement for him. Goes 200s ahead of F1 AMG, and Hero Jokin's retired in the pit lane. He can't make it back out in time for another qualifying run. So Jan on the front row, that is a good statement of intention for him.
Yeah, it is, and as we know, Jan has really good race pace, so starting higher up will be a real plus point for him in the first race.
It really is going to be a plus point for him if he can get to the front. Gregson, meanwhile, only managed 17th on that time. Kelvin invalidated, and David has left the lobby again, unfortunately. So those guys at the back of the field, they're not going to be able to improve on their times. Kiki has invalidated his first run on his final set of soft tyres, so he's going again on the same set. So this could compromise him at the start of this race if he does improve on that time. Steve in the other Renault is currently on a lap as well. He's just come through turn 3, so we'll see what his first sector time is like. You've got to say, Steve last season showed flashes of pace, had quite a few rounds where he was at the front of the field at the start of the race, but ultimately was just kind of massively overshadowed by Jan last season.
Yeah, he was, and the thing with Steve last season, I don't know why, but when he was running in mid-pack, he was performing really, really good, and no nerves or anything, but as soon as he was running with the top guys up front of the pack, he made some little mistakes, so let's hope he can get his nerves in check and deliver in the race as well.
Crucially though, for Steve, he invalidated on the exit of turn 6 through 7. Old School has also invalidated coming out of turn 2 by the looks of things. So yet another invalidated lap time so far for Old School in this qualifying session. We've got more people coming to the line. I think Simply Superman's just coming around the last corner, and he is just going to make it to the line in time for his final run in qualifying with 7 seconds to go. Good stuff for him. Gregster's crossing the line. He's going to do another run on that set of soft tyres just to get a bit further up the field. So now we wait for the 2 Renaults, but obviously that's an invalidated time for Steve, and Kiki's not found any time on this lap. He's nearly 3/10 down, and I think he's given up on that run, so both Renaults can't improve. Where can Nelly go? Nelly's invalidated his time. The time would have been a 19.8, so it would have put him ahead of Hero Jokin, but unfortunately he can't set that time, as Hatari in the Ferrari goes ahead of his teammate from nowhere. A little bit struggling maybe at the start of qualifying. He now goes up into P5 just ahead of his teammate, so that is a great lap from Hatari on debut to get himself inside the top 5. There's still a bit of a gap though between the top 4 and the rest of the field. Old School's lap time is invalidated. He won't be improving. Where can Steph go? Has been so strong all last season. He's only 8th on the grid in the Williams, a 19.9, nearly half a second, well over half a second off of pole position. As across the line, Nolan improves again. So Nolan does a 19.3. Where's F1 AMG? He spins.
He spun on the last corner.
I didn't know if
Ooh.
he was improving or not, but F1 AMG spins in the final corner, so he's lost his shot at pole position. Across the line, I believe, came Vision, and he's gone P12 in the Haas car. Where is Simply Superman? He's going into the pit lane, so he couldn't find any more time in the Alfa Romeo. He invalidated at some point on his lap. It's just Gregster coming across the line, but he's also invalidated. He was 9/10 up, and he would have gone quite a bit faster on his third lap on those soft tyres. But unfortunately, at his invalidated time, so he will start 17th on the grid, and that is qualifying over. Nolan with the first pole position of the season, Jan on the front row, Steph and Old School only 9th and 13th.
Yeah, didn't expect that to happen, but yeah, that's Division 3 again. Surprise after surprise, and I must say, in the end, it's quite close as well in the top 10.
It really is close. See, obviously, Nolan on pole position by a couple of tenths of a second. Second through to fourth, half a tenth of a second separates those three drivers. That is incredibly close. It's great to see Jan on the front row as well, trying to continue off the momentum coming into the season. He's the only real championship protagonist from last season that's continued on. So both of his main rivals have moved up. So that's probably good morale, really, for Jan coming into the season. But Nolan starts off with a great lap in qualifying, a 19.3. 2 tenths clear of the rest of the field. Can he convert that into his first win in TTML? We will wait and see. Jan on the front row. F1 AMG on his return to Division 3 is third on the grid, so that's good for him. Simply Superman in fourth for the second Alfa Romeo. Hatari on debut in fifth ahead of Martin Bell, who gets sixth in the Red Bull. Hero Joke in seventh ahead of Nelly. Steph only ninth and Steve 10th. Kiki the first person outside the top 10 in 11th. Then it's Vision, Old School, Kieran Trapp, Sean, Flores, Gregster, David, Kelvin and Langfell, with three drivers who couldn't set a time. David kept leaving the lobby. Kelvin invalidated and Langfell crashed quite early on. So Nolan and Jan at the front of the field, maybe not too surprised to see those guys near the front, but apart from that, the rest of the field is quite mixed up.
Yeah, it is. Ooh, it's
Ooh.
raining. Whoa.
Okay, now this throws a little bit of a different element into this. So this is now maybe why we saw a lot of people doing multiple runs on the same set of tyres. Maybe those people that are a bit further down the grid have gone for a compromise setup.
Yeah, they could have, but I am really wondering because it is raining, but it isn't looking that wet yet, the track. Are they starting on the regular tires or on the intermediates?
Oh, I think if you're looking at these conditions, it looks like it might get wetter and wetter, so starting on a set of soft tyres would be a big risk. I mean, it could pay off or it could go horribly wrong for you. It all depends really on what the weather's going to do for the rest of the season, really. So, well, the rest of the race, sorry. So, who knows how this one's gonna pan out in terms of the weather. But even if people were running maybe compromise setups for the wet conditions, you've got to say that even in the wet conditions, track position around this track is vital. So maybe compromising your setup so much that it's put you outside of the top 10 may not actually work in your favour.
No, it wouldn't because it's really hard to overtake as everybody's running the mediums, but the intermediates. But it's really hard to overtake around this track. So it could pay off to just compromise your setup a bit, make it a bit more stable, but not too much downforce. That you have track position over the other guys. You can have a stable setup with a lot of downforce, but if you can't pass on the straights, you've got a problem.
Yeah, exactly. You're just going to get stuck around this track. Like you say, it is difficult to pass on this track at the best of times in the dry, and then in the wet, obviously, it's a lot more difficult to use your ERS because of the low grip conditions. No DRS will be available in this race by the looks of things unless it dries out at some point, but who knows if it's going to dry out in this race. So it's going to be difficult for those drivers that maybe compromise their setup towards the back of the field to actually be able to work their way forwards. They're going to rely maybe on people at the front of the field possibly burning out their intermediate tyres.
Yeah, they are, and they really need. But yeah, who knows? I mean, we obviously don't know what the weather's gonna do. But if it's gonna dry up, you could see the guys who are in front now just disappear. Nothing mid-pack can do if you compromise your strategy, or it could get wetter and wetter, and little mistakes can happen then if you don't have enough downforce. So. You're joking, and Nelly disqualified from the lap. So yeah, who knows what happens? It's all in the weather now.
It is all in the weather, and at the moment the weather isn't coming down too hard, so it looks like we might be in fairly easy intermediate conditions for the foreseeable future. Before everyone gets lined up on the grid though, who's your prediction for race win today?
I really try to make my story as long as possible because I don't have a clue today. I really don't have a clue, but yeah, let's try this. I'm gonna go for F1 AMG on P1 because I know he's good in the wet.
Mm.
Nolan P2 and Martin Bell P3.
You know what? You took the prediction right out of my mouth. That is exactly what I was going to say. I think that is a very easy prediction. Like we've seen in the past, F1MG, like you say, very strong in the wet conditions. Has he been able to keep that advantage in these wet conditions now that he's back in Division 3? Everyone then is lined up on the grid, so fingers crossed we should get this race underway. Although, unfortunately, David was leaving the lobby quite a lot of times in qualifying, so I am maybe a little bit worried that his car is going to cause a lobby glitch, which, by the looks of things, it might have done. So I think David's problems with his internet, unfortunately, in qualifying has caused this formation lap maybe to crash on us. So it looks like we might be getting a lobby restart here, which is a shame to see because we want to get this race underway as quickly as possible. We want to get these guys racing in this Division 3 season, but it looks like we might have a little bit of a delay. So while we do have this delay, we'll just have a look a little bit maybe further down the field at some of the new drivers in this division, some of the people we haven't seen before. And Hotari, great qualifying for him in his debut qualifying in this division. P5 on the grid in the Ferrari, out qualifying Hiro Jokin, who's a proven race winner. Great way for him to make himself known in this championship.
Yeah, it is. It's always good for your confidence if your qualifying is good on the first race of the season. Nobody knows you, or at least I don't know him, but most of the guys won't know you. And yeah, it's just kind of a message to everybody. Hey, I'm here, and I'm here to compete. So yeah, and everybody's gonna respect you when they're battling you. So really good to come in with a P5 in qualifying on your first race.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. Further down, other people that are new to this championship, Nelly P8 on the grid. He had a good qualifying, but couldn't really improve on his first run much more than he did. So that's why he's a little bit further down the field as well. Vision in 12th place ahead of Kieran Trapp, his teammate in debut and qualifying as well. So that is a good thing to look at. It looks like, though, we might be getting a lobby restart, unfortunately. David has left the lobby, but David wasn't in control of his car, and it's not allowed him to get into his car by the looks of things. And we are seeing people now leaving the lobby, unfortunately. So it does look like we are going to be getting a lobby restart in this one. I believe Old School is our lobby host, so thanks to him if he's going to be setting up the custom grid for us. Great to see that he can hopefully get that sorted for us and we can get racing fairly shortly. But other people maybe that had notable qualifyings in that session, obviously we've spoken about the top three in the qualifying order, but Simply Superman, you touched on it a little bit earlier, not usually that strong in qualifying. Last season was maybe towards the bottom end of the top 10 more commonly in these qualifying sessions, as my game's crashed. Oh my god.